Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to Cinema Chazzy, the segment on this channel where I review the many movies that I watch over the years, whether they're old or new or modern or classic. I'm aware that some of those words are synonyms, but I can't stop saying it because it's my intro. I have it memorized, so I'm sorry for the grammatical failure there, but that's life, right? And today, in case you haven't figured it out, I've been doing some Star Wars related content on my channel lately, playing Lego Skywalker Saga, and if you know how my channel works, this means that I'm going to be starting other kinds of Star Wars content, reviewing movies and TV shows and other kinds of stuff. And today I'm going to be, as per the tradition, wearing my classic retro episode 4 Star Wars shirt right here. I love this shirt so much, it's awesome. And why am I wearing this shirt? Well, you probably already figured it out because of the title and the thumbnail. I'm going to be reviewing another Star Wars related movie, and this is not my first rodeo. About a year or so ago I reviewed the entire original saga of 6 films, so the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, and today I'm going to be starting off the sequel trilogy, and I'm going to be reviewing first Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. That's not what showed up here though, it literally just said Star Wars The Force Awakens, so it could fit, because that's a pretty big name. This one was released back in 2015, and fun fact, on the day of my birthday, December 18th, I watched it, then, and, I only ever watched this movie twice, first being then when it was released, and the second time was last night before reviewing it, so it could be a little fresh in my memory, right? And I hope it worked. I hope I can give you guys a more direct review here because I literally just watched it last night. Now, the story is set 30 years after the end of Return of the Jedi, Episode 6, and it follows now, the veterans of the Rebel Alliance led by General Leia Organa, leading the Resistance, now going up against Kylo Ren and the evil First Order, the successor to the Galactic Empire of the original trilogy. It's really nice, very post-pounding, and this movie had an initial budget of, get this, $447 million, which makes it still to this day the most expensive movie ever made. And right now it sits as the 5th highest grossing movie of all time because it went on to gross over $2 billion freaking dollars at the box office, man. We're talking like specifically $2.071 billion and all that stuff, but who's counting? I am, because I'm a YouTuber doing a review. Now, it was actually very interesting. It basically gives us, the lukewarm nostalgia of the original Star Wars while also giving the franchise this new energy, right? And it took me a long time to appreciate this movie. I didn't really like it so much, the first few years, but I got around to it. It kind of, grew on me, and it didn't extensively involve George Lucas very much. He was actually involved more as a creative consultant in the early stages of production, but he was still, I'm pretty sure he was very adamant about the direction that it went in. Well, then again, he did sell it to Disney, so I don't think he actually had a lot of say in where it was gonna go. But anyway, as a standalone movie, it's a great film, especially in the Star Wars lore. But when you consider the changes and the retcons that Disney made to the mythology and the story, it kind of peeved me a little bit, but more on that later. First, I'm gonna show you guys a little clip here from the movie.
I was raised to do one thing, but I've got nothing to fight for.
Nothing will stand in our way.
Now, this movie runs at a hefty 138 minutes, which is 2 hours and 18 minutes, right? So a lot happens during that time, so I'm going to try to sum it up as best as I can in the next few minutes here. It all starts off on the planet Jakku, very similar to Tatooine with desert and stuff and whatnot. We follow Poe Dameron, who is a Resistance pilot, and he has a droid named BB-8, cute little round thing that rolls around and stuff, that has a map to the whereabouts of Luke Skywalker, who mysteriously disappeared some years ago. The First Order captures him, and we meet the primary villain, who is Kylo Ren, who goes on to torture Poe to try to get the information out of him, but his droid actually runs away and runs into Rey, who is the primary protagonist, and simultaneously we are following the story of a stormtrooper who is, his number name is FN2187, right, and he is just disgruntled with the First Order. He wants to run away, so he does. He's a deserter. He actually manages to escape with Poe, right, from Starkiller Base, which is like this huge freaking First Order base that's like what, 100 times bigger than the original Death Star. It's a base built into the damn planet itself, man. It's crazy as hell. So they escape, right? And now Poe actually calls him Finn because it's easier, the FN thing, you know. And eventually they crash back on Jakku and their ship sinks, and then Finn runs away and runs into Rey, who has his droid. And then after a little misunderstanding, they basically work together to try to escape, and they actually go onto the Millennium Falcon, right? Such a nostalgic moment in the theater when we see the dang Millennium Falcon, and then they go off into space, and who runs into them but Han and Chewie? They take their ship back, right? But they join forces, and after this very, very cool action sequence, with I think it's Ranathars, those creatures on the little garbage ship there that they were flying, right? They escape some enemies and go to Takodana, where they meet Maz. What's her name? Maz. I have the cheat sheet here open. Maz Kanata, right? I don't know how her and Han Solo are friends, but they are, So they go there, they really want her help to take BB-8 over back to Leia so they can try to find where Luke is, complete the map. And throughout this, we are also seeing the new villain, right? Almost like a stand-in for Palpatine and Sidious, which is Supreme General Snoke. And if you saw this movie back in 2015, there were theories all over the internet about who the hell he was, man. Even Mace Windu was thrown in there. I don't know why. So many theories all over the place. And basically, Kylo Ren is serving him. And so they actually eventually go on to take the maps back to General Leia. When we see Leia Organa on screen, man, it's just so... They really did a good job of bringing all the legacy characters back in, That is something that you cannot, complain about. They did a lot of fan service, and it was really nice. And the plot essentially starts to build up towards how A New Hope was, where they are, coming together to, make plans to destroy Starkiller Base, but it's a much bigger target than before, right? So now, all the while, the characters are getting to know each other. Finn is having a little bit of a moment of, trying to, I don't know, he's having a battle with conscience. He apparently falls for Rey. Everybody at one point is on Starkiller Base, and as we build to the final climax, we already know what's gonna happen. Massive spoiler alert if you haven't seen this movie yet, though. I think it's too late to issue a spoiler alert. After Han and Chewie are planting explosives to take down their base's shields, Han actually meets Kylo, who is actually his son Ben, right? He's Ben Solo from Legends canon, and unfortunately, he fails at trying to bring his son back home. He kills him, falls down a chute. I hated that moment so much in theaters, man. Just so sad and bittersweet. And then the heroes escape and Starkiller Base is destroyed, right? But before it's destroyed, there is a little lightsaber battle between Rey and Kylo. Rey, who somehow can use the Force now and knows how to use a lightsaber, right? She freaking smacks him in the face with it, and it somehow doesn't burn his face off, even though it's a freaking lightsaber. But okay, Disney, with your PG-13 violence and whatnot, right? Then the base explodes, everybody goes home, everyone's happy. Yeah, the thing is that. And so eventually Rey takes Luke's lightsaber that she had gotten from Takodana, because apparently it called to her, right? So then it was Anakin's lightsaber, and then became Luke's, and now it's Rey. So at the end, we see her finding him on the planet Ahch-Toh. I don't know how to pronounce that, And she gives him the lightsaber. We see Luke taking off his hood, and well, the movie's over. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. That is essentially the plot all summed up. And here's another clip from the movie before I continue.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it.
If you ever saw Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, you might have gotten a very strong feeling of deja vu watching The Force Awakens, because it is essentially almost a carbon copy, of that movie story, right? It's very, very similar, which was intentional, of course, but it was done in a way that somehow felt original at the same time, and just bringing all the original cast back. There was an ensemble cast for this movie, bringing in some new talent in the older generation as well, like, for example, Harrison Ford coming back to reprise his role as Han Solo, who was the smuggler and also the rebel general, married to Princess Leia. God, man, I love him so much. Captain of the famous Millennium Falcon. It was really nice to see Harrison come back for a very fat paycheck, He just doesn't get enough of that in Indiana Jones, huh? Then we have, of course, Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, who, even though he only appears at the end, it's freaking Mark Hamill, man. He's gonna get top billing there. And it's so nice how he becomes essentially the old hermit like Ben Kenobi himself was in the original movies. So it's kind of like, he went into hiding for similar reasons as well. And also we have Carrie Fisher as General Leia Organa. We already know all about Princess Leia. It's so nice to see how she now rises up to become the leader of the Resistance and still is driven crazy by Han, man. I love it so much. They're dynamic there. Now we have the newcomers, right? We have Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, who is also Ben Solo, who is the son of Leia and Han, right, if you know your Star Wars lore. And he is now a leader of the Knights of Ren and also a warlord of the First Order, essentially, so he becomes the new primary antagonist of the sequel trilogy. So it's very nice, but it's weird when you see the kind of work that Adam Driver has done, you know, just like this goddamn motorcycle bastard outside. Wish I could use the Force to choke this guy into oblivion. Seeing the kind of work that Adam has done in the past and see him now portray a Sith Lord was kind of interesting, but still, nah. We have Daisy Ridley, who is playing Rey. At the time, it's just Rey. That's all we knew her as, you know, when this first movie came out. She is a Force-sensitive scavenger and also becomes kind of like almost a love interest to Finn, but it never really plays out the way that we think it will, you know. Speaking of which, we have John Boyega as Finn, or FN2817, the Stormtrooper, who is now completely reformed and doesn't want to, you know, kill for them anymore, which is very nice, you know. And he's a token black character in the movie, you know. I don't think that there were a lot of, you know, black stormtroopers back in the Star Wars lore when George Lucas came up with them, but whatever, man, include whoever the hell you want, you know, as long as you don't go overboard with the LGBTness, you know, then I'm okay with it. We have Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron, a fan favorite and one of my personal favorite characters too. I really like him. He really grew on me throughout the sequel trilogy, right? He is a high-ranking X-Wing fighter and also a pilot of the Resistance. You know, he's very well looked upon, at least in the first movie. But, you know, nah. Then we have Lupita Nyong'o as Maz Kanata, obviously doing just the voice of her, because if the woman looks like that, something's wrong there, you know? And she is basically this centuries-old and very perceptive alien with her eyes, you know, who almost feels like she can stare into your soul. She owns the castle, you know, on the Force planet of Takodan and is a friend to Han Solo. Then we have Andy Serkis as Supreme Leader Snoke, because Andy Serkis just blends his voice and likeness to everything, right? Motion capture. Basically, he is this enigmatic and almost like an genetically artificial leader of the First Order. Nobody really knows who the hell he is. We never even find out, actually, in any of the movies. Then we have Domhnall Gleeson as General Hux, who's the commander of the First Order Star Killer base. He's the guy who was looking like a freaking Nazi up there, you know. There was a little bit of Nazi symbolism with the First Order, especially when all the soldiers put their hands up like this, like they're doing Heil Hitler, you know, but that's a can of worms I don't want to open right now. We have Anthony Daniels coming back to reprise his role as C-3PO. Human-cyborg relations, you know, a humanoid protocol droid, and now he has a red arm that's all fancy, you know. I don't know what happened to his other arm. I probably should have looked that up later, but I don't know. And we have Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca, you know. My God, man, everybody. Peter Mayhew is deceased, by the way. He passed away. He's no longer with us, but still, just him coming back and donning his classic suit, man, that was awesome. Han Solo's loyal Wookiee and co-pilot, you know. And we also have Max von Sydow as Lor San Tekka, who is a galactic explorer searching for Luke Skywalker. Cannot remember who the hell that person is, you know. That wraps up the main cast, right? There are a few cameos, like for example from R2-D2 at the very end, who was the one who wakes up and completes the map, you know, that shows that Luke is on the oceanic planet of Akhtal. I don't know, man. It was a very, very healthy juxtaposition with all of these old actors and the new ones. It actually, it felt like when you look past them trying to almost rewrite the Star Wars lore and take away all of the other canonical material outside of the movies, it's actually really nice how they implemented these characters together, man. It didn't feel forced at all. It somehow felt so natural, you know? There were a lot of Easter eggs and fan service moments, but at the same time, it just felt like it clicked, you know? It's really hard. I wish I could say the same for the next two movies, but this one actually was not that bad at all. And before I go into a little bit of the production and my personal take, let's take a look at another clip here.
The dark side. A Jedi. They're real.
One of the things that I most enjoyed about this movie is that there was a mixture of practical and special effects, which was intentional by J.J. Abrams, the director, to sort of, you know, bridge the gap between the older and the newer Star Wars films, you know? Like BB-8, for example, was a physical prop that they actually used, you know? It almost felt like Jurassic Park, you know, building the dinosaurs and stuff. It was really cool. And many of the scenes were actually shot on location, right? So sure, a lot of the movie was shot, you know, in Pinewood Studios in England, but there were actual real on-site locations, like for example, the desert, you know, in Abu Dhabi as a stand-in for Jakku, and also Ireland as a stand-in for Akhtal, and even Iceland, you know, as a stand-in stand-in for the Starkiller Base, which the Starkiller Base in Star Wars lore is actually built from the planet Ilum, right, which is an ice planet very similar to Hoth. You played there in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, so like it was built, instead of being built in space, it was built into the planet itself, so they used Iceland as stand-ins for that, so it was really nice. Like the actual real locations made it feel so much more authentic and genuine, you know, and it was very strange because this is Star Wars, so yes, of course, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of special effects, you know, CGI, but if you stop to look at it, there was actually a lot of practical effects, which I think was actually really nice. You know, realistic lightsaber combat, you know, choreography and stuff. So sure, they kind of messed up the lore a little bit here and there. Like for example, lightsabers used to be deadly, man. You know, like you could get an entire limb cut off by a lightsaber, and if you were ever stabbed by one or hit in the face with it, that's like insta-death, you know, that's perma-death. You're not coming back from that unless you're a Force ghost. So, but now it's like, no, let's be more family-friendly because we're Walt Disney, you know, so now lightsabers are like batons, you know, like little electric sticks that don't actually kill people. My God, man, Kylo gets hit in the face with a lightsaber. If I get hit in the face with a lightsaber in Lego Star Wars, I die immediately. I mean, what the hell, man? It just doesn't make any sense, right? But still, I really enjoyed the way that they did things. You know, the story was actually, sure, you can say that it's sort of plagiarized, you know, A New Hope, but at the same time, it kind of gave Star Wars a new, fresh look, you know, because you can only go to the barrel so many times to tell something original before you run out of ideas, right? So, I mean, George Lucas sold his rights to Disney, you know, which he later likened as like a divorce of sorts, and there were some creative differences with him and the writers of Force Awakens, but still, I mean, it's not a bad movie, you know. I have grown to like and appreciate it a lot more in the 9 years that it's been released, and I cannot believe I just said it. It's been 9 years since this movie came out. God damn, I'm old. Feels like just yesterday, man. It's almost a decade old. Holy freaking crap. But still, having watched it a second time recently, literally just last night, the plot points are okay. The special effects are very, very phenomenal, especially for a Star Wars movie made in a modern day. Like the difference, the 10-year difference between Force Awakens and Revenge of the Sith in special effects, man, just looked insane, right? So the story did feel at times a little threadbare. They did take away a few things, right? Like, for example, we saw scenes in the trailer that didn't make it to the final cut, but that's the director messing around with it. But the way that it brings back the original actors for the nostalgia trip, and it manages to tell a story that doesn't feel too forced. Like the puzzle pieces fit in a way that just makes it feel original enough to be passable as a new standalone movie, which eventually branched out into its own sequel trilogy, which I think was done very well. However, because of certain details, like them changing the stories of certain characters, like Han Solo, like in the Star Wars lore, the original lore, which I think they call Legends now, he actually, I don't even know if we ever find out if he dies or not. He just lives a long and happy life married to Leia, but in this movie they kill him off, you know, in the final act, right, killed by his own son, which was just unacceptable to me at the time. Now I don't really care. I just watch these movies for entertainment, but still, and bringing back the characters and making some of them have different dialogue that reflects changing character personalities was okay, but also, you know, I don't know, man. The problem is that I'm talking about this movie already thinking about the next one, which is The Last Jedi, and that's why I'm a little bitter. You know, I'm really just not, But anyway, if I had to give this movie a rating, I would give it an 8 out of 10. That is my personal rating for Star Wars Force Awakens. It is not a bad movie. If you consider it like a standalone project, then it's very watchable, but then when you think of it as like, shut up, I'm recording, god damn it, go to hell. My God, this always happens, man. Life of a YouTuber, am I right? Oh, he stopped. Hey, thanks. So yeah, good movie, good cast, great music composed by the legendary John Williams, who came back, you know, to do the score again, Go Away. Just the beat by beat remakes, you know, the same exact themes used as before, man, and at the same time, you know, managing to implement the score at just the right moments, like when we see the Vader's, you know, charred helmet, you know, the little score that plays ominously there in the background, all of the songs, the music that plays when certain dramatic moments happen. John Williams is the GOAT of freaking music composition, dude. And I'm gonna go because this video is getting way too long already. I've been recording for over 20 minutes. That's probably not, can you even see, does it focus? I don't think it does. It's not going to be this long, but still, nah, and I have a lot more work to do. You know, I have more Star Wars stuff to review, so I hope you guys enjoyed this attempt at a condensed version reviewing this movie here. And if you happen to like this video, please go ahead and give it a like and also subscribe to my channel because I release videos every single day. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell too so you can know exactly what time I upload, and it's all good. It is all good. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. May the force be with you, and roll the outro screen after one final clip.